So let's talk about cold calls. And this is vital for you to be able to have. The techniques of learning how to make phone calls, how to get those appointments. And the first thing first is just to get the bravado, just to get to get past the fear of calling people, to go past the fear of having a rejection, having somebody say no, having somebody hang up on you. Has it ever happened to you where somebody hung up on you? If the answer is no, that means you don't make enough phone calls. But I will guarantee you that there's been a lot of people who's called you that you hung up on. So I want you to think about how those people felt that you hung up on them, that you didn't have the time to speak to them, that you didn't like the offer that they were giving you, that you felt that they were soliciting you. How many times did you call and you answered and you say to the person, you know what, take me out of your call list. Why are you bothering me? You're annoying me. Why is this person calling me? Has this ever happened to you where people called you and that's how you feel? That you get pissed that they took time out of your wonderful, beautiful day? It sucks. But guess what? For you to get those appointments, for you to start getting referrals, that's going to be you in the other phone call, in the other line. And people are going to hang up on you. People are not going to pick up the phones. People are going to want to, get mad at you. So to be able to be successful at this, I literally brought together a lot of people to be able to give me advices. I've researched this. I've made thousands of phone calls in my lifetime to try to get appointments, to try to get people to meet with me. Whenever I'm about to have a live seminar in a particular state, I will call every single one of the home health agencies in that state to try to get them to attend my seminars. So your cold calling is literally, I will guarantee you, should be the most important thing you should learn, because it's going to get you the most appointments. And the more appointments that you can get, the more appointments you can get, the more chances you're going to get more referrals. So some people say, well, Michael, I'm just going to go by numbers. If I call 100 people, well then, maybe I get 5% turnaround and get 5 people to get an appointment with me. So that's a great thing. But the good question to ask and answer there is this, okay? Well, out of those 5 people that you finally got to agree to meet with you, how many of them are you going to convert and have them start using your services? So cold calling is vital for you to learn. Cold calling is important for you to learn. Okay, let me ask this question. Have you ever picked up the phone and called a doctor? I'm not talking about set up an appointment for you. Have you actually tried to start calling physicians to be able to get those appointments? Have you actually started making phone calls to call administrators and nursing homes to get appointments? Discharge planners of hospitals, social workers of, long-term care centers or, other nursing homes as well. Are you making phone calls already? How many phone calls have you made so far within the past few months? How about today, for example? A lot of people feel that they should actually wait till their agency opens. Let's say, for example, you're just starting your agency, or let's say you're just about to start working for a company. If your agency is not up and running yet, now's the time to start learning and practicing and messing up and making mistakes to learn from it. But at the same time, as if your agency is already running, you need to be doing it also right now. But the biggest problem is this, is that when we make phone calls, when we make these cold calls, we are not prepared. We don't practice ourselves. We don't have the right tools. We don't know fully what we need to do to get those appointments. You can't just make a phone call and wing it and just go by how things goes when the other person. The person who comes prepared is the one that's going to win any battle. And cold calling is a battle. It's a battle of getting that person to actually transfer you to the person you want to speak to and not their voicemail. It's for you to be able to speak to somebody and for them to ultimately see that there's something of value that they do definitely want to be able to meet with you. Don't just rely on the power of numbers where you start thinking about yourself like I shared in the other slide where you talk about, well, Michael, if I talk to 100 people, if I call 100 people within this week, if I can actually get a 7% conversion and get them to actually allow me to have a presentation out of that, I'll do good. Well, you forgot the other math problem. What's your conversion factor of having an appointment? You may have a 5-7% conversion of getting somebody to meet with you, but how about getting that person to start referring patients to you? What if that person you meet or that company you meet is not a good referral source? They only have one patient every 2-3 months. Because remember, it always begins from qualifying the right company, the right people. So it's not just getting an appointment. It's to be able to get an appointment at a higher rate with the right training, the right techniques, to call with knowledge and ideas. Because look, you already have the person in the phone call. You already have the ideal referral source. It's a waste of time if you can't get them and increase your chances to get those appointments. So when we're cold calling, I want to ask this question. How many times a day do you feel do you need to call people? How many people do you feel you should be calling in a month? I challenge all the people that I work with to call a minimum of 50 people a day. 50 people a day. Well, somebody's going to tell me, well, Michael, there's not a lot of hospitals, there's not a lot of nursing homes, not a lot of assisted living communities in the area. So there's not a lot of people. What are you talking about? That's 50 people a day. That's 250 a week. If you're talking about a 20-day work month, you're looking at 5,000 people. That's not a lot. That's a lot of people. There's not enough people to call. Yes, there is. There's a lot of people to call. And the reason why I'm saying there's a lot of people to call is that there's a lot of physicians in your area. There's a lot of nursing homes. And when I say you're calling 50 people in a day, I'm not saying you're calling different people. When we create a follow-up process, we expect you to call everyone every day. Every week. So you really are only targeting about 200 people at a time until you can convert them into your VIP list. So in a daily basis, you should be calling a minimum of 50 people a day. Out of those 50 people, you're looking at about half of those should be for potential referrals. The other one are new calls. The first potential referrals, which those are your follow-ups, and the other half, the other 25, those are your cold calls where they haven't really or met you or know anything about you. You're just trying to get that appointment with them. Now that's always the minimum. That's a 50-50 split. Okay? If you increase your calls, you also increase your follow-ups. You need to be able to have a follow-up training, a follow-up technique. So imagine that if you're calling new calls, if you go by the minimum, that's 25 a day. Within 5 days, that's 125 days, 125 phone calls in a week. So you're looking at what? So you're looking at literally, if you do that within 4 weeks, okay? If you do that into 4 weeks, how many is that? That is close to what? 500 phone calls a month. That's 500 phone calls a month. That's amazing. You just spoke to 500 new people a month. And that's the bare minimum that I expect of you guys, that I expect of your marketing team, of your, liaisons and your marketers. So just imagine if you call 500 new people a month. And with the techniques that you're going to learn, you increase your potential appointments to about 20%. Okay? About 20%. That means you're meeting 100 people in a month. Now look at the conversion. Let's say, for example, you have a 7% conversion rate. Meaning after you meet 100 people, that you can convert just 7% of them. And that's bone stock minimum for people of average marketing capabilities. So now you're converting 7 new referral sources in a month. If you take great care of their patients, and each one of them, just let's say, for example, bare minimum refers to you 1 patient a month. If every month, within 10 months, you increase your referral census by 7 people referring patients to you, by the time that you hit the 10th month of your marketing strategies, you should have 70 new referral sources. And if they are giving you just 1 patient average a month, that means you should be able to have 70 patients coming in a monthly basis. That's creating a bone stock marketing strategy for you. So yes, you want to increase your calls, but you also want to increase the capabilities of your phone calls to be able to have a high conversion for appointments. And imagine if you learn some of the great, presentation techniques and adding products and services into your company to make yourself valuable to the patients. That's going to increase the conversion of those meetings towards potential referrals. So understand that the goal here is not the quick fix system, because if you don't have a follow-up process and system, you may get referrals, you may get a new referral source, but you may lose them immediately as well. So understand, cold calling is literally that important. So does it work for you? How many times you do it is so important to know. How does it work for you? Well, you need to be trained for it to work well. Now let me ask this: when people call you to cold call you to be able to have you, increase the rankings of your website in Google, or you get somebody who wants to change and convert your electricity away from ComEd or the other typical local companies, or somebody calls you to try to make you buy insurance, or somebody calls you to try to ask you to donate some money, did it actually work for those people to gain your business? What I want you to then look and understand and answer is, what did they do wrong that made them not valuable towards you as a person? So I want you to be able to start studying that. So I've literally studied people that are great and amazing in the phone, has great skills with the phones, yet I've also studied people who do not know a single thing on how to make a correct phone call. So when I ask the bare minimum of 50 calls a day, which is the bare minimum, some of the top marketers that I know will call a minimum of 150 people a day. And like I said, look, you're going to be able to get a hit or miss. Not everyone's going to be converted. How much time does it take to make a phone call? How much time does it take to be able to make that follow-up? You're talking about maybe 2 minutes. Okay? If the call goes pretty well, and you're going to be able to get 5 minutes to get that appointment. Your job is to get in and out. If you're making 100 phone calls a day, that's only 200 minutes. Okay? What's 200 minutes a day? That's only like about how many? About 3 hours. About 3.5 hours in a day. That's if you're making 100 phone calls. 100 phone calls. Okay? You need to be able to increase the amount of people you're meeting. So your calls needs to be between 50 to 100 a day. It's very important to be able to set time aside when you're making these phone calls. You need to be able to go ahead and structure your day to be able to make sure you fit this in, because this is part of your business. It's easier to make phone calls than spending time going door to door trying to get those people to meet with you. So let's talk about some of the cold calling rules that you need to abide by to be able to make your cold calls great, to be able to make your cold calls even better than the others out there. Number one is immediacy. Have you ever done this where you told yourself you're going to make a phone call, you're going to go visit someone, you're going to say something to someone, and then all of a sudden you don't do it, and then you'll say, I'll do it later on, I have time. So immediacy is the most important thing. So you need to be able to make sure the moment you decide that you're making cold calls, set aside time for that particular time of the day and make those cold calls right there and then. Don't start telling yourself, I will go ahead and do this later. So you should have a time. Let's say, for example, I'm going to make phone calls between the hours of 10 to the hours of 11:30 in the morning. Then I'm going to make phone calls between the hours of 3 to the hours of 4. Okay? Set aside the time, and when those times come up, set it in your alarm. When it alarms, start making phone calls. Within 15 seconds, if you don't do what you're thinking, most likely you will never do it, or you will postpone it. And that's how procrastination works. Rule number 2, be persistent. Okay, most marketers, most sales reps are making 1 or 2 calls per lead before giving up. Okay, so be persistent. Just because you don't get that appointment that first time you called, remember, it's not just a failure, it's gathering information. So when you get that person on the line, find out who they are, make a profile of every company that you call. You need to be able to have your CRM, put in your CRM so that you know when you called them last. You can make a follow-up, okay? You don't have to do things by writing things in pieces of paper no more. This is where we teach people to be able to make sure to take advantage of the different solutions out there, of the different apps out there. Be persistent, okay? Most people will not even try to call the second time if they failed the first time. So let them fail. Don't let yourself fail. Typically, it will take us between 3 or 4 calls before we even get an appointment for everyone. For most people that I know who are great at marketing, their conversion rates of phone calls to be able to get an appointment is somewhere around between 20 to about 25% for the first time. For the first time that they actually call someone. Okay? So now, what you want to do is you want to follow up the second time. Now you have a name. Alright? It makes it easier for you. But the thing is, if you don't get that, are you going to follow up the third time? Most of the time you'll say no. He already said no. He doesn't want to meet with me. He already made the excuse that he doesn't have time. No, that's just an excuse. Call again. Maybe the person you're speaking to just had a bad experience the call before you did. Are you going to follow up the 4th time? Are you going to follow up the 5th time? Are you going to follow up the 6th time? Okay? You need to be persistent. And if you're dealing with nursing homes and you're dealing with hospitals, it's going to take a lot of time and effort. So you're going to be making more phone calls. You're going to keep on making these phone calls on these companies. Okay? So be persistent at what you're doing to be able to get that. Next thing is time of day. Rule number 3. When to call doctors, discharge planners, and MSWs. Okay? When would be good times to call? When would be a great time for you to start calling? I have several rules that I kind of go under by. I don't like to call people during lunchtime because you don't want to bother them during lunch. I don't want to bother them during the first hour of the day that's open because they're trying to catch up. And I surely will not try to call them after 5 o'clock. The sweet spot is always between the hours of 10 to 11, 10 to 11:30 or so, or 9:30 to 11:30, and a sweet spot of about 1 o'clock to approximately about 3:30. Those are always great times to make the phone calls. So time of day does matter, and there's studies out there that proves this. Because remember, you don't want to try to speak to somebody when you're trying to disturb them from meetings. You don't want to disturb them when they're trying to eat, okay? And then you don't want to disturb them when they're trying to leave work and finish up the day. Rule number 4, know when to call for doctors, discharge planners, and MSWs. So the day of the week is also important, okay? So I say call 50 a day minimum, right? So Tuesdays and Thursdays are the best time to make any cold calls. That's the best time to make any cold calls while this is the first contact that you're making. So Tuesdays and Thursdays is where I spend literally my cold calling days. Mondays and Fridays are my follow-up calls where I'm following up people that I've actually met already. Following up with people that I already had the initial introduction. Following up people that I already sent a letter to. Following up with people that I sent a fax to or an email to. Okay? So Tuesdays to Thursdays are great times to actually do what? Make your cold calls the first time that you're actually meeting people. Okay, now I teach you guys scripts. I give you scripts to be able to memorize, to be able to know. I do not suggest you to use scripts when you're making a phone call. And when I'm talking about not using scripts where you actually have to read it yourself right there. It's okay to have it in front of you as a guide, but you should already have the concept in your mind on how to be able to say the things. If you literally have to grab a call, and make a call, and then grab the card and say, don't use scripts unless you have it memorized and can improvise. Okay, it sounds like you're reading. And you don't want to sound like you're reading because you don't want to sound crazy. Okay? You want to be able to deliver the information in the phone. You want to be able to deliver and show them that you already know it. When you're presenting, you don't want to be reading your presentation. You just want to have it there as a guideline for you. So when you're calling people, you want to be able to memorize the scripts, have it ready in your head, and have it flow out of your mouth really fast. Have it flow out of your mouth where you don't have to fully think. It should come naturally. It should come effectively. You should be able to talk to them correctly with the correct words, to be able to speak to the people fluently. I'm not saying you have to be grammatically correct. I'm not the best person to be able to teach you how to properly use your grammar. I don't even know that sentence made sense. It should make sense, right? But the thing though is, the most important thing is to be able to deliver information clearly. Talk about body language. If the person in the other line of the phone call is talking really fast, don't talk too slow because you're not in their level. Talk to match their level. Try to be able to mimic them to see how they're doing it and do it that way. If you have a person in the phone, okay, in the other side of the phone, and the way that they actually answer is they say something and then they take a quick pause where they say, "Hi, this is Janet with Dr. Patel's office. How can I help you?" And they take that deep breath. What you can do is you can answer the same exact way. "Janet, I appreciate the fact you're on the phone. I want to be able to share something with you." Now, I'm not saying make that sigh loud just like they did. What I'm just trying to say is you want to create the same pause that they have. This is one of the most hidden secrets by some of the best marketers and salespeople out there. The whole cold calling techniques is very important. And we spend close to about 4 hours of body language and nonverbal training because this is vital. And this is what makes you stand out and how it becomes different. When we're communicating with people, we want to understand that, are we having communication or are we having a conversation? Okay? Is it communication or is it conversation? Because if we're conversing, we're just talking. We're just talking, chit-chatting, so-and-so. But there is a big difference between that and communication. Communication is an exchanges of information, of valuable information that's going to be able to help each side be better. So you want to be able to communicate with them and not just have a typical nonsense of a conversation. Conversation are for the regular times of the days, to be able to have a chit chat, to be able to have meetings, to be able to have, a quick understanding of each other, to be able to say hi and bye. But for us to be able to get business, to be able to get referrals, we need to be able to literally easily communicate to people. So that's where cold calling is so important. We need to avoid conversations. Okay, the back talk or the side talk stuff. Put that in the side. Okay, you can use that as a nice cold opening, like how's the weather out there, or tell me about how busy it is for you. Look, their time is valuable. Show them that you value their time. Take it easy. Avoid the little small chit chats. And go straight to the communication of what you're trying to get. You need to have purpose. When you make a phone call, your purpose is to get the appointment. Okay? So stick to that script. When you call, can you handle those objections? You will, and you can, because I'm giving you scripts. I'm giving you already the knowledge of what you're going to expect. You know you're going to get somebody telling you, I don't have time. You know you're going to get somebody that's going to tell you, we don't allow solicitation. You know you're going to get someone telling you that they're not here right now, leave your brochures. Do you know how to be able to respond to that? You have to understand, success is rewarded to you if you prepare. Success rewards preparation. You're not going to be successful unless you prepare yourself, unless you prepare your team. You have to understand, when was the last time that you practiced? When was the last time you actually was practicing how to make phone calls? I can guarantee you when I ask this question, nobody can actually answer that. They will say, never. I never had, Michael. I thought about it. You know, I kind of imagined how this phone call was going to go with this physician or with this administrator. But did you actually come up with scenarios? Did you come up with a mastermind group? Did you actually bring a friend over and say, hey, I want you to sit here. I want you to say this. Give me an objection, and I'm going to answer to you right away. Can you answer really fast if I tell you I don't have any time? What's your answer? What are you going to tell the physician? You say, you introduce yourself to me right now. Pretend we're in the phone right now. Ring, ring. You say, hi, this is, Janet with ABC Home Health. I want to be able to speak to Dr. Patel. And I'm Dr. Patel, and I tell you, you know what? I'm busy right now. I don't have any time. Typically, people will answer, you know what, doctor, I apologize for taking your time. I'm really, really sorry. I'll call back later on. That's a typical answer of the average marketer, of the amateur marketers. I want you guys to become professionals at what you do, to become professional marketers instead. Have you ever hung up on yourself? Meaning that you were about to make that phone call, and the moment that the person answered, you just hung up on them? And, whether it's personal or whether it's business, because you didn't know what to say, you were lost for words, because you didn't prepare yourself. So it is important for preparation. Very important. Now, when you're cold calling, the first 15 seconds, your job is not to get them to hang up the phone. Because that first 15 seconds will determine if you can go past that. If you can go past the first 15 seconds, then you did a great job. Okay? The second 15 seconds of it, so that's within 16 to 30 seconds of the call, is to get the intended target. You need to be able to qualify. Do you have the person in the phone right there and then? If that's not the person, stop presenting to them because they're not the important person. The most important person is to go past them to the right person. So first 15 seconds, your job is not to get hung up on. Okay? Second 15 seconds is to get the intended target. Now, between 30 seconds to 3 minutes, you have a window to make a pitch and create value to why it is worth the time for you to give a presentation and give a pitch. That's your job. You have to get them to stay long. The longer you get them in the call, the longer you have chance to be able to have a presentation. So one of my first techniques that I do to try to challenge people to see if they're willing to take advantage of this is literally I tell them to go ahead and call someone. Pick up the white pages if you have one. And what I would say is this. Go ahead and call someone that you never met. Go call a business. Go call somebody that you don't know. And what you're going to do is you're going to ask for a movie recommendation. You're going to ask them to go ahead and recommend a movie that you should be watching. And if you can have a full-blown conversation with the person who you decided to call that you never met, and you can make it last for 3 minutes, I challenge you to do that for 10 calls. 10 straight successful calls that you can get the person to stay in the phone with you for 2.5 minutes. Now, a lot of people say, well, Michael, this doesn't really apply to us because, this is home health. This is home care. This is hospice, what we're trying to do. It's a challenge. If you can actually do this, then you can literally call anybody else. I've even used this techniques when I hire new marketers. I give them the phone and I say, all right, call. Or at times, the next level is, okay, here's the phone, go call this physician and set up an appointment. My goal is to literally see if they're willing to just grab the phone right there and then. Not worrying about the success or the failure. It's a matter of trying. If they hesitate, then I know that they're going to hesitate to do the real thing. If you can't even ask somebody for a phone number or for a recommendation for what type of movie to watch, you think you're going to be able to actually call someone and ask them to start referring patients to you?